Important figures who not only participated in the Nehruvian vision of nation building, but also criticized some of the projects when India was independent, became independent. So also in Sumantra's film, why this film is very important, because it shows a different Bombay. It shows Bombay in a very different time. All of you are aware that currently in this city, most of my comrades, we all feel that it's a very nauseating spectacle for some of us. So when we have a 5,000 crore wedding going on, it reminds us of 1911 Darbar Hall, where the British government spent 1,500 crore. That's not British money, that was Indian money. This 5,000 crore is also Indian money, Indian taxpayers' money, and textbooks. And the logic is that positive, there is a very famous, popular course which, a lot of university offers, which is positive psychology. So they use this logic by saying that, positivity spread करना है, तो इसीलिए ये chapter, इतना riot हुआ है, so just take it out from the syllabus. Sumantra's film is very important because it not only shows that how literature and writers are sensitive towards history, mistakes that we make in terms of policy, in terms of governance, and how literature can respond to the time. Poets are not only ahead of time, but poets also seeing the songs in the darkest times, and about the dark times. So KAiFi Azmi, comrade KAiFi, I would say, because I am a member of the Communist Party of India, Marxist. So I prefer to call him Comrade KAiFi and not just KAiFi Saab or KAiFi Azmi. And I feel that while sitting here with Sumantra and Shabana ji, so I feel that I'm almost in the in the company of my comrades. So with this, I would like to ask Sumantra first. My question is that I've watched your other interviews, in the literary festival. You and Shabana ji had a very fantastic Q&A with the online interview.
So that was not the best start, let's say, to my research career in KAiFiNAMA. What I had to do, thankfully she has a husband who remembers everything. It starts from slightly before he was born and continues and continues and continues. And so he actually once said to me that, would you like to change it to my father, the film? I know everything and I remember everything. So anyway, the way it started was, obviously it wasn't so bad. I got stuff, a lot of memories of that time from both Javed Saab and Shabana. But very little material was handy because I think it was not a time when things were recorded. That is the critical issue. And because they grew up impoverished and have grown out of that, they didn't have the means to, let's say, record their wedding, or even the intention at that point, because it was such a strange wedding when it happened, coming out of goat's blood. So basically, what I had to do was to recreate everything and then lie to the audience that I found everything. And that's what this film is. It's a bunch of lies that attempts to get to the truth.
No, that's not.
It is. No, it's not modesty. It's self-praise. I had to lie exceedingly well.
Children came, of course, my mother had to go out and work. She never worked in her life. Then she became a radio announcer, and after that, she started working with Prithvi Theatre. So there were two distinct memories that I have. One, that that I would be taken to Madanpura.
This is what I mean.
Madanpura, and I'd see lots of red flags, and all the workers would make a big fuss over me, and then I'd be taken from one shoulder to the other. So when I'd look at these red flags, I thought, Red means party time, which is the place that I was also living in. Red Flag Hall was party time. There was really not a single fight that I remember over the toilets or the bathing area. Little. 8 families living over there. It was really, really amazing. But there was a kind of camaraderie. There was we belonged to all the communists and they belonged to Mummy and Abba. It was just mutual kind of sharing. Also, what we grew up with really is a great celebration of the ethos of India. So, obviously, there was a complete absence of religion, but there was a great regard for composite culture, for secularism, for the Ganga Jamni Tehzeeb, and so all festivals were really done with a lot of aplomb, chahe it was Holi or Diwali, Eid, Christmas, any of these, and that tradition still continues with our family. I remember the hall being used by the Communist Party for its meetings, of which I couldn't understand anything except नारेबाजी बहुत होती थी उसमें. लेकिन एक चीज़ जो मुझे अभी भी स्ट्राइक करती है, हमारे बाजू में एक हिंदू फैमिली थी, सुधीर जोशी. He was also a comrade. So his mother came from Indore and she was very, very religious. And so we little children would rush into her kitchen and we would take a piece of laddu. And she said, चलो यहाँ से मेरे धर्म भ्रष्ट कर दिया, ये कर दिया, वो कर दिया. फिर 2 पानी के बाल्टी, अब 2 बूंद पानी डाल दी थी और वो कहती थी कि बिल्कुल ठीक है. फिर एक दिन उन्होंने क्या किया कि गुड़ की जगह उन्होंने हींग रख दी. तो मैं फिर गई खाने के लिए, तो कहते हैं अब मालूम है ना चुरा के खाने का क्या मतलब है. But what strikes me is that in today's world that would lead to a riot. There was no question of it then. So the greatest difference between then and now is this attempt at transforming what is India's biggest strength, which is her composite culture as such. What I do remember is that gender equality was a taken. I mean, whether it was with Kefi and Shaukat, whether it was with Jafri and Sultana, all the other comrades. I mean, we didn't even know that another way existed of understanding men-women equations. And I must have been about 19 when I realized, my God, something that I take for granted is actually the exception rather than the rule. And then another thing that happened to me is that, so much of politics was discussed in the house that I just turned away from it and I said, let me concentrate on my films and I don't want to worry about all this. In fact, I used to pride myself on the fact that I don't even read the newspapers. Now, it's to my father's credit that he never once pushed me, never once said, Bidi, how can you be so indifferent to what's happening around? Because I think somewhere he was convinced that the earth was so fertile that किसी न किसी दिन अंकुर फूटेगा और फिर उस तरह से फूटा. So then when I started working with women's groups after Earth particularly, and then when I started working with slum dwellers, because this is an incident I repeat very often, but I think it begs repetition, is that how I normally try to play my roles is by finding, to the extent possible, a role model. I was fortunate that when we were shooting at Nehati, there was this woman who used to clean the house where we used to live. It was a guest house. And I started looking at the way she walks, at the kind of clothes she wears, and all of that. And then observed her very carefully and then started asking questions to her, and in the process we became friends. So a couple of days into the shooting, she said, Didi, will you come to my house? So I said, of course. And I went there and I was stunned with the kind of poverty that I saw over there, because it was a little hut, about 180 square feet or maybe 220, and there was no water, there was no electricity. 8 people were living in that house, literally one on top of each other. And then I came away so surprised that a woman who was living in such adversity had actually the generosity to become my friend, because she'd taken all that for granted and she was very busy serving me tea and things like that. And then I felt so compelled that if I went back to Bombay and sort of having used her to win an award, which I did, the national award and all that, and then came back without doing anything for the likes of people like her, then it would be a travesty of the trust that she had placed in me while we became friends. And that really seized me. At that particular time, I saw PK, and I've been long associated with a housing rights organization called Nivara Haq, and I saw a film by Anand Patwardhan, Bombay City. Have you all seen it here? You must see it. Aprajita, where are you? You must arrange to see Bombay City. And that, for me, the first realization that I had, I used to always worry about demolitions, and especially demolitions during the monsoons, and I would see these stripped of their house and on the road with their 3-4 bartans and their children and all that. But I didn't know what to do about it, like everybody else. I felt, but we cannot have endless migration coming in. We have to stop it somewhere. And then that film brought into focus for me the fact that demolitions serve no purpose. They only make worse slums out of already existing slums, because people don't go back to the village because there was no employment. Otherwise, nobody wants to leave their home and family, sell off their wives' jewels and come and live here. Very much, because he felt that Majru had great lyricism in his songs and great versatility. Sahir, he thought, was basically a poet who was then writing songs. So he didn't think of Sahir, he thought Sahir was extremely effective, but he felt that, and he felt that about himself also, that the Urdu poetry's influence is overwhelmingly. Once when I asked him, I said, what do you really think of your own poetry? He said, I don't think all that much about my poetry. I think some of it is inspired, some of it is okay, but I don't take myself very seriously. So I said, surely you're being very modest. But there was a thing about Kaifi that when he was being praised ever, he used to scratch his head and look like, अरे ये एकटा के लिए इससे पैसे कैसे ले सकता हूँ? ये इस चीज़ के लिए मैं पैसे कैसे ले सकता हूँ? That was his only interest. First to collect money for IPTA and then to collect money for Mijwa Welfare Society. तो अगर बहुत तारीफ हो रही है तो उनको लगता है कि बकरा कैसे बना? उनको he didn't take himself very seriously. He said during that time, उठ मेरी जान मेरे साथी, चलना है तुझे. This I like very much. कद्र अब तक तेरी तारीख ने जानी ही नहीं, तुझ में शोले भी हैं अश्क फिशानी ही नहीं, तू हकीकत भी है दिलचस्प कहानी ही नहीं, तेरी क्या हस्ती भी है एक चीज, जवानी ही नहीं, अपनी तारीख का उन्वान बदलना है तुझे। तारीख इज हिस्ट्री, अपनी तारीख का उन्वान बदलना है तुझे। उठ मेरी जान, मेरे साथ ही चलना है तुझे।